We often stumble over something invisible between what we know we need to be doing in order to create what we want and what we're actually doing or not doing. It's the thing that you keep procrastinating over and over and over again. It's the thing that if you could just really establish it as a habit, it would change things forever. It's the thing that you just resist and you don't know why. Welcome to Breakthrough Mode, the podcast where we intentionally get into the driver's seat of our lives, shift out of monotony and mediocrity, and step on the gas towards becoming the person we were always meant to become. Hello, and welcome to episode 246 on the Breakthrough Mode podcast. I am your host, Megan Bauer. Thank you so much for joining me today and pushing play on today's episode. Today's topic is brought to you by a near daily experience that Jake and I have with the girls. Around 7 o'clock every single night, we ask them to go get ready for bed. That includes putting on their pajamas, brushing their teeth, and brushing their hair. And every single night, or just about every single night, there comes a point where we can hear by the level of noise coming from their bathroom that they are not doing what we have asked them to do. So Jake or I will yell down the hall, "Get ready for bed." And one or both of them will yell back, "I know." And we will respond, "But you're not doing it." And the other night, when we were having this exact thing play out for the millionth time, I realized, oh my goodness, this is a podcast episode. Because how often do we know what we need to be doing, and yet we are not doing it? Now, I don't want this podcast episode to be in the frame of shoulds. I'm never a proponent for shoulds. I don't care about the shoulds because the shoulds don't matter unless it has to do with something that you actually truly want. Someone you want to be, some accomplishment you want to have, a goal that you want to achieve, a habit you want to establish, unless it's actually anchored in a true desire that you have, the shoulds don't matter. The shoulds put on by other people, the obligations, the things that society tells you should do, or whatever. None of that is what I am talking about. If I say should, which I am going to try to refrain from, I am still talking about the tasks that are in line with creating what it is that you want to create, the life that you want to create, the person you want to become, the accomplishment that you want to have. There are things that, you should do in the pursuit of creating something that you want. So, even though the girls don't necessarily have the desire to get ready for bed, the example still stands because they know what they need to be doing, what they have been asked to do, and yet they are not doing it. There is a gap here that we often get stuck on. We often stumble over something invisible between what we know we need to be doing in order to create what we want and what we're actually doing or not doing. It's the thing that you keep procrastinating over and over and over again. It's the thing that if you could just really establish it as a habit, it would change things forever. It's the thing that you just resist and you don't know why. Because when you're on that path, when you're on that journey to create something, to be someone, to have some sort of accomplishment, when you're on that path, there are steps to take, of course. And your steps are going to be different from my steps. They're going to be different from the next person's steps. And still, even when we know what the next step is, we can find that we have resistance. We can find that we know and we're not doing it. And just by the mere fact that there is a gap here between what we know to do and what we are doing or are not doing tells us that there is a sticking point. There is some resistance. There is something there for us to dig into and inquire about. Because when we know what to do and we follow that through with the action, it's really just this one nice flowy current. We know and then we do the action. And when there's no resistance, there's no break in it. We just do it. If you know how to drive and you've been driving for a long time, you can drive without, you can get from here to there without thinking about it very much because you know what to do and you've practiced it so much that the action just flows effortlessly. There's just this nice flow between what you know and your action. So when you know and there's not this flow to the action, there's something there to look at. There's some point of resistance for you to dig into, discover, and honestly, dismantle and discard because you don't need it. You don't need it. So when you are in this situation, when there's someone you want to be, something you want to create, something you want to do, you know what your next step is, and you are not taking that next step, ask yourself why. Why am I not doing this thing? And you will likely come up with some sort of avoidance sort of emotion. You're afraid, or you're worried, or you have anxiety around it. There's some sort of something, some emotion, some negative emotion that comes up. And that negative emotion is rooted in a set of thoughts. And that set of thoughts has the support of a belief underneath it. So this thing that you keep tripping on between what you know and what to do, between your knowledge and your action, is essentially a belief that you have about whatever it is, about your success, about your being able to be that person, about whatever is about this fear. There's a belief there that is keeping that resistance point anchored in that you are continually tripping over. Now, I've done lots of episodes on thoughts and beliefs and dismantling thoughts or dismantling beliefs via your thoughts, because a belief is nothing more than a thought that you keep thinking, and you've thought it so much that now your default is just that it's true, but it isn't necessarily true, especially if it's based in fear, if it's based in a anything less than your greatest potential. Then that belief is fundamentally false. And we have so many false beliefs that we believe. We call them limiting beliefs. But your job here is to figure out what belief is limiting you. What is it that you keep tripping over? And then rewrite that belief so that it stops stopping you, so that you can know what the next step is and then effortlessly take that action. The thing here is to really become aware, because procrastination can seem reasonable. You're like, I just had way too much to do today that I just didn't get it done. And there's all sorts of excuses, honestly, that can be super reasonable. But if you are consistently not taking the step, if you know and yet you're not doing it, there is something there for you to dig into and dismantle and discard. And you have to do it, because if you don't, you can push through, you can use resistance, and that will use up a lot of energy and willpower. So if you just take the time instead to look at the discrepancy between your knowledge and your actions, and then rewrite whatever is keeping you stuck, then it will be supportive. And then you'll be building supportive beliefs that help you as you take the step after that and the step after that. because it does not have to be this way. And just as an example, for the girls, going back to the girls and our bedtime routine, if instead of just telling them to get ready for bed, which they then know is like, if I get ready for bed, then we're one step closer to bed and I don't want to get to bed. And that's their resistance point, right? If they can just delay it, then they'll delay going to bed. But if we say, okay, get ready for bed and then we'll play a game before you go to bed, then they're super fast, right? Then they get ready for bed in no time. They can be ready in 5 minutes flat because we changed the whole situation. Now they're no longer delaying bed. They want to get to the game as soon as possible. So that means that you can change this situation. You can change whatever this point of resistance or this sticking point is for you between what you know your next step is and your actual action, your follow through, your implementation. Because I would say that we know so much. We know what to do. If you're in a bad mood, you know that you can change your attitude. You have the power to do that. You know that if somebody offends you, you can change your perspective on that. You can. That's completely in your power to do that. And yet, how often do we choose to stay in the bad mood or to be offended instead of doing what we know to do? And isn't that interesting when we take the time to really rewind and be like, okay, if I know that I can change my attitude and I'm choosing not to, what is that about? Then we can figure out what kind of false benefit we are getting from being in the bad mood, from being offended, from being in that space. Why is it would we choose to do that? There's some sort of benefit that we get from it. There's something there. Because honestly, we're wired to only do things for our benefit, even if it's a false benefit. Well, if I'm in a bad mood, then nobody's going to talk to me and then I don't have to have conversation. If I get offended, then that means that it's reasonable for me to withdraw from these social situations. Do you see how that makes sense a little bit? Even if it's not a great benefit. Even if when you look at the benefit, you're like, no, I actually don't want that benefit, but thanks, it's there. So there's a false benefit that you get from not acting on what you know. It might mean that you get to stay comfortable. It might mean that that even if you don't create the success that you want, you get to stay where you are. Nothing more is expected of you. Nothing more is asked of you. You're not put into new situations. And that can be a false benefit. So here's my invitation to you. You know what you need to do. You might not know all of the steps, but you know the next step. You know what the next step is in creating the habit, in being the person, in accomplishing the thing, in being who it is you want to be. You know what that next step is. And if you are not taking that step, you get to ask yourself why. You get to ask yourself what emotions come up. You get to search through your thoughts and beliefs about what that next step would mean or what it would reveal or what it would open you up to. And then you get to rewrite those limiting beliefs. You get to think new thoughts that actually support what you want to create, that actually support where you want to go, that actually support who it is you want to be. And then you get to take that next step. You get to match your knowledge with your actions. And this episode is very on purpose here in the studio. This is purposefully not a Wednesday in the Wild episode because this is way easier to present to you, way easier to talk about than to actually do. Because in real life, the emotions are real. We feel the fear very distinctly. We feel like, no, if I do this and I fail, everyone will literally hate me. Literally everyone on the planet will hate me. And it feels very real, even though just saying it is just like, Megan, you're absolutely ridiculous. Like, what? That is the silliest thing you've ever said. But it feels real. And the job is to diffuse the power of these false beliefs, these limiting thoughts, choose empowering thoughts and beliefs, and move forward anyway. Because if you have a resistance point, it's going to keep being a resistance point. It's going to keep keeping you stuck until you give it the attention it's asking for. And here's what it's asking of you. Are you ready? It's asking you to grow past it. It's asking you to look at the fear. It's asking you to become someone more, to become someone who wouldn't have this sticking point. Because there is someone in the world who is on their path to being who they want to be, creating what they want to create, doing what they want to do, who does not have this point of resistance. And so I want you to imagine yourself. Take a moment to imagine yourself, putting yourself in a situation where you flow effortlessly from your knowledge to your action. Imagine not having this point of resistance. Imagine it not even existing. It's not something that you have to sidestep or step over or anything. Imagine that it's not there at all. What would that feel like? Because this point of resistance, this sticking point is there to help you become the kind of person who doesn't even notice it, who knows what it is they need to do and just does it. This is there to help you grow past it and beyond it. And in that perspective, it's a gift. Of course, it's hard to see it as a gift initially because you're like, well, just go away already. And it can. It gets to go away whenever you are ready to grow beyond it. And in order to get a sense of what that feels like, you can use your imagination and put yourself in that situation where you can just feel what it would feel like to not have this thing stop you, to not have this fear stop you, to not have this belief holding you back. And once you know what that feels like, then you get to tap into that whenever you want. And as you tap into that, this sticking point, this point of resistance, will get smaller and smaller and smaller until it's not there anymore. And you will have grown beyond it. We know a lot. We know a lot. The power in that is in what you do with that knowledge. It's in the action, my friend. You know what it is to do. You know, you've got it. You now get to go out and do it. I totally believe in you, and I totally love you. Bye for now.